Welcome to the White Knuckle Podcast with your hosts, Jason Science and Dr. Clint McCoy.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the White Knuckle Podcast, episode number 129. Tonight, I am joined by a couple of guys that actually filmed with White Knuckle back a long time ago before they decided to jump ship. Mr. Frank Clark and Clinton Fawcett. Guys, I was going to call you turncoats, but I decided not to do that. How's it going tonight?
Well, don't use big vocabulary words with me. I don't want to get myself confused before we start. Feeling good.
Good.
Yeah.
So, you know, the reason I wanted to have you guys on is because you're kind of a big deal. You guys have had a track record of, I guess, simply put, success. And I don't think it's due in any small part to anything but some hard work. Would you guys agree?
I agree with that. Yeah, hard work and just putting your time in.
So
if
what?
You're going up, one will eventually walk in front of you.
Well, right. I mean, I always say that they've got to be there to kill them, first of all, and then you have to have, you know, somewhat of a relatively not bulletproof plan, but a good plan. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think, Frank?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think just over the years we've kind of learned enough about our farms, and we kind of pick and choose accordingly. Different farms are usually happen at different times of year.
Right. Do you think that every farm has its own DNA?
Oh yeah, for sure. And a lot of it's learning it. That's a key. And, you know, we've also got to get comfortable in what we do, right? Like, everybody's got their own hunting style. And sometimes mine's different than Frank's, and Frank's is different than mine. But over time, you just learn, you know, kind of, it's just like playing sports. You learn what you're good at, and you just kind of try to stick to it, you know?
Right. So, do you guys exclusively hunt with one another? Do you self-film yet? What do you do?
We film it together when we can. Less and less as the time goes, because our kids are in sports and there's stuff going on. But we still try and probably go maybe 40% of the time that we hunt together.
Okay.
Yeah, we try to. It's just gotten. There was a time where we would not go if the other person couldn't go. Like, even if, like, say I could hunt and Frank was busy, or Frank could hunt and I was busy, we just wouldn't go. If the other person couldn't go, we didn't go. And then, you know, as we've gotten older, there's just so many times that we can't go. You know, Frank's daughter's in dance and volleyball. My kids are in basketball. Neighbors playing football, and I help coach football. And then in jobs, our jobs change, being construction workers, and it's you know, you just kind of got to adapt to that.
Right. It's definitely not an easy task, you know, trying to have a partner that, you know, you can, you know, if we were all single and had nothing to do but hunt, it would be simple. But the fact of the matter is none of us are in that situation, and very few of us are. So it makes it darn near impossible at times to get two of you in a tree together. Do you think, I guess I'm just curious what your opinion is. Do you think there's a drawback to having two of you in a tree?
I don't. I think it's a lot better. I like it a lot better than self-filming.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, I like it because we know we've filmed each other so long that it's just like pretty much second nature. I know what he's doing filming wise, and then, you know, when I'm hunting and when I'm filming, he's hunting. You don't have to worry about. I mean, I don't worry about him being on the deer, or, you know, we've pretty much got it down now where it's, when we do something together, it's pretty much like clockwork. You don't have to really worry about the other person.
That comes from a lot of time together in the tree.
Yeah, lots. And I like the experience for me is a lot better when I like the thrill of the hunt is a lot better for me when we're filming together.
Do you guys each have your own respective farms that you hunt, or do you hunt all your farms together? In other words, are you allowed to hunt on all Frank's properties, Clinton, and Frank? Are you allowed to hunt Clinton's? Both.
We have both set up. Some farms I can hunt of his. Like he can hunt our main farm at my house, and then the other he's got a big farm that I can't hunt, and I've got another farm that he can't hunt. But we've been pretty fortunate in the past to always have to where we could both go always in the same spots. Nice.
Yeah, when David and I were at the height of doing it, I can tell you that was just a ton of fun, and it was always fun sharing that experience. Inevitably, there's going to be more memories when somebody else is there to share it with you, and probably some more laughs as well.
No, definitely.
And I think, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think you stay a little bit more on your game when there's someone else in the tree with you. At least I did, because I just I wanted to be there. I needed to be there for my partner. Really, when that moment of truth comes, you got to be ready to go.
Right, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of pressure at times. I mean, both sides for me, filming and shooting, is a lot more pressure-wise when I have somebody when Frank's with me, because it's, both of you, not just one of you, if something goes south.
Exactly. You guys had a pretty good year again.
Great year.
Yeah, Frank's best year. It was awesome.
Let's hear about
actually, it. I killed both of my deer on my a new farm that I just got in on a lease with the guy, and just put in food and put in my time, and just it happened. I mean, it just didn't press the subject on wind, like hunting and stuff when the wind wasn't right. Always tried to have a backup plan. If everybody knows you get say it's going to be blowing west wind, and then you get there, it's blowing straight north.
Right.
So we just didn't. I didn't burn anything out. I just kind of hunted edges and just trying to learn stuff, and kind of left some food in places, and it just worked out really well.
So you started from the outside in, basically.
Yeah, basically that's the way I always work when I get a new piece.
Uh-huh.
I don't like jumping right going into hard stuff if I don't have to. I mean, maybe a couple of years in when I know where a lot of the bedding areas are and what's kind of going on. But I just kind of stuck with mostly blind, ground blind. I put little bitty elevated platforms up, like 2 foot, 2.5 foot off the ground. Just kind of hunted them a lot around the edges of the field and like in spots where I could see and use calling and decoys, and just tried to see what I could do without blowing anything out.
So I'm curious, I think a lot of people would say hunting edges is the most unproductive thing in terms of killing a deer, and probably the most productive thing when you're trying to learn a property. Did you kill both your deer on the edge?
I killed both of my deer over. There were 3 there. The first one was over a decoy, and then I actually shot that deer in the middle of November. It's the 17th, I think, and 3 days later, I put that decoy over on another food plot in the morning, and I missed like 165 incher. Just on the edges, and just kind of I knew I would see deer, and then I figured I'd take a decoy and see. I mean, I caught the rut right that 1 week, and I guess that other deer I missed was just a stud 9-pointer.
Is he still alive?
No, he got killed during gun. He got killed during gun season.
Bummer.
That's the problem with not filming with each other, right? Because then I'm at work and Frank's hunting, and I'm like, I gotta go to work this morning. I got all this stuff going, and then I got to work and it fell through. And I was like, crap, I could have went hunting. And then Frank texted me, he's like, dude, I just missed a giant. I had him. I had to try to self-film, got the camera on him. I got him stopped, and just, then it's kind of like, gosh, if I just would have been there, you know what I mean? Then you missed out on it, plus it just didn't go the way you wanted.
Right.
But,
so, Frank, you killed... Go ahead.
Frank talking about hunting the edge. We never hunt real aggressive most of the time. We're very outside looking in, wait them out type hunters over the years. Good access and just chill out and wait for it to happen. That's
what I was going to ask. And either of you can take a shot at answering it, or both of you can answer it. But is it safe to assume, Frank, that because you've learned some this year in terms of their travel routes and things like that, it sounds like you probably killed your deer sometime past the 1st of November. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, I
go ahead.
I started, we run a lot of cameras, and everybody, pretty much everybody does.
Sure.
The deer started showing up. I got a picture of a deer, and a couple deer were starting to do daylight, in the first week of November. And we just stayed out until we thought the wind was going to be right that night, and slid in and killed that deer. And then the last week of season, I killed my last one over standing beans. We finally got some weather. Everybody in the Midwest kind of seen how that was. We get a cold snap for a day, and the deer would get to the food an hour after dark, and it just wasn't working out. And finally, that last 3 days of season, was brutal cold and got the right conditions.
Yeah, that we certainly didn't get the weather this year. I was filming down in Missouri during their muzzleloader hunt a couple of days after Christmas, and that was just honestly, it was a bad deal. Not through anybody's fault. It just was horrible weather, and unless you got the right day, you weren't gonna see a whole lot of what you wanted to see at least.
It's just so rough when you get that, because you got to plan for that so far ahead, right? You got to plan.
Yep.
You got to have oats and rye, or you got to have beans, or you got to have corn. And if you can mow your corn, they'll come to it at different times. If you've just got beans, they usually won't come unless it's freezing cold or it snows. But if it snows, the beans are better than the corn. If it's hot, the rye is better than the rest of them. And if you don't have a giant farmer, you can have such a variety. It makes it tough, especially with pressured deer that don't want to move in the daylight anyway,
Right. I guess let me just finish up with the road I was going down with here just a minute ago, and that's, you've seen the way that they've moved. Are you going to hunt it any differently next year? Because, like I was saying, I'm assuming you killed them in the heart of the rut, or you didn't kill them in the second to last week or last week of October, which is when it seems like if you're going to put a play on a deer, and you know where he's living, that's the time that you're probably going to do it. Sometime in either the last 2 weeks of October, first week of November, first few days of November.
Right.
What would you change next year, Frank, and why? What would lead you to make that change, or make that not necessarily a change, but a decision to hunt in a particular spot? Is there anything that you saw?
Yeah, you kind of get a pattern of deer, like all the deer actually. It's not even just a deer. On a farm like my new farm, certain bucks that were in certain areas, like October the 17th through like the 25th or 26th. I mean, like by camera wise, they were just, the deer were they like, there was those that in certain areas on the farm that were definitely going to come in before other areas on the farm. And that's kind of how we hunt a lot of our farms. Is we wait until we kind of run them enough that you kind of pick out, like, okay, the does on this end of the farm are going to come in earlier, maybe 4 days or 3 days earlier than the does on the other end of the farm, because the does actually do stay in just in groups. They don't really, you have a group of deer on one end of the farm and a group of deer on the other end of the farm. So that's kind of like how like my new farm, I will play it. There's definitely a couple areas in there that were better the last week October that I'm definitely going to play off of. And then kind of like early season, it just depends on your acorns is pretty much how I hunt.
Okay. So
I definitely, one thing with Frank's farm that I will, hopefully we get to do is I want to get a tree stand down in there where Frank's buck came from that we shot, because it's great. He had one down in there and we never went and hunted it, but it's great access to come in the back door of where that deer came from. And I think, Frank saw that. I didn't want to hunt where Frank killed that deer. I wanted to go farther back in, and Frank did something really smart and went over there the week before because we'd had a little bit of snow, and he went over and just walked and looked and saw where the tracks were at, where the deer had been coming from. And then that night when we were going hunting, I kept wanting to go farther in the back, and Frank's like, no, we need to hunt this ground blind in the front. That's where I want to go. I walked this food plot, and I saw all these tracks coming from down off these ridges, and we kind of overlooked it and been pushing too far in the back. So this year, for sure we need to get a set down in there where that deer came from that we can hunt in the morning. There's great access down in there.
Gotcha. Would you say that you'd agree with Frank Clinton that there's different farms that are going to produce at different times?
100%.
Really?
100%. Yeah.
I guess that's a thought that I had never given.
At my house, our farm at our house, which Frank and I have hunted for, I don't want to date ourselves, but I don't know, 18 years maybe. I mean, I killed my first deer there and I was 9, so that was a long time ago. But it's 1.25 miles long, and it's very narrow. But,
gotcha. Okay.
So there's a 1,000-acre chunk there that's like 3 farms together. Our neighbor owns 700 acres. There's a guy that owns some in the middle, and then our side that my father owns and my neighbor owns that we take care of, and all of us hunt together as one big farm.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 250 acres, but it's 1.25 miles long, and in spots it's only 200 yards deep. But what that allows us is we get a lot of pictures of all the deer over the entire farm. And the north end of the farm is by far the best early. And the south end of the farm at my house is never good until late. Like usually it falls into the first shotgun season or just a few days prior to that, like the 16th, 17th, around that time. And it has been that way. Once, I don't know, Frank, when we killed Snowbird that second year we were with bowhunting.com, that's really when we started noticing it a lot and watching it. And man, the cameras just really tell the story now. It's that way every year. The north end, the goes in and eat first, and the south end is lagged behind it.
Yeah, it's definitely like that. Like I said, when you hunt a farm, I know, like I said, the new farm was it's going to be tough to figure out. It'll take me some years, and hopefully I'm, grace enough to be able to hunt it for a couple of years. But it was just this year, just like I said, just with, I don't know, we had 8 cameras out on 300 acres, and the bucks were on certain areas of that farm. Every one of the bucks were in that area for 4 or 5 days. And then it all pulled out. And then on the other end of the farm, I checked the card, and they're all down there on that end of the farm, for 3 days. And then when the main rut hit, like the middle of November, 17th to the 20th, right around there, then I started getting bucks cruising a lot. But truthfully, like the cruising, I didn't have a lot of cruising at the end of October. It was just kind of, they were all together, and if there was going to be a doe in that area that was going to come in first, I don't know.
Really? Okay. Interesting. I guess I haven't. I did a lot of trail camera monitoring this year. Do you guys spend a lot of time putting stock in your trail camera photos? And when I say stock in them, I don't mean you're hunting bucks off of trail cameras, but like historical data, for instance. You're using that, I'm assuming, and do you see any parallels from one farm to the next that you use to your advantage? Like, you know that sometime between this date and this date, just stuff's happening.
Yeah, we do for sure. Like my mother and father-in-law's farm, a lot of times we have really great movement there between the 20th and the 24th of October in the mornings. I've got one scrape in the back, and it's always really good. We haven't killed a deer on it yet, but we have been close several times. And there's a lot of farms too that we can kill deer on early season, like Frank's new farm, for instance. We can kill a deer there early. My farm over there, we can kill a deer there early. The big farm at the house, you can't. We've never killed a deer there early, and I don't think we ever will.
Why not?
It'll just be a fluke because it's just not an early season farm. The bucks don't bed in there a lot early, and if they do, their personalities are different, and they don't move in the daylight.
Right.
And it's just, we've got a lot of history there, and it's just it could happen because I've changed the habitat so much in the last couple of years. But as of right now, I don't see it ever happening unless the habitat changes a lot with the switchgrass and stuff. But it's just never good early. It just never has been, and there's just different personalities over there.
Frank, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I agree because like we don't have on certain farms, just everybody hunts early season. You're hunting acorns or you're hunting, maybe the first cut cornfield around, or something that puts in deer there. And if you don't have truthfully the bucks that everybody knows, a big buck in October, first week of October, he's going to get up from his bed here and go to his food. I mean, he's not going a long way. He's only going to travel a small area. That's just kind of. And I mean, Clint's farm doesn't have. It's got a few, some good oak trees in it, but not like some of our other farms.
Gotcha. Okay. You guys mentioned good early season farms. What makes a good early season farm in your opinions, and why?
Got to be somewhere the bucks bed close, and it's got to be somewhere where the deer's personality is they like to move in the daylight.
Okay.
I think a good early season farm is wherever the deer summer.
Okay.
Everybody knows that the bucks are always together in bachelor groups. Most of the time you'll have 6 or 7 bucks. Usually one good one and then a few other decent ones. And good early season farm is I like hunting. I hunt a lot of small farms too, and like Little Finger Draw and a lot of little places. And I think those are a better place to kill a big buck early because he is comfortable. He's been there all year. He's been out in the middle of these wide open fields, and that's where I've had the best luck of killing bucks early. Is small farms, finger draw, little patches.
Right. Okay. What makes a good late season farm? Other than food, because that's probably an easy answer. I don't want to let you guys off that easy.
South-facing bedding.
Okay.
South-facing, close to food.
Close,
Yep.
south-facing, close to food.
Great bedding because they're not going to move very long in the daylight.
Okay.
Right? They're not getting up. They're not getting up. For example, there's a farm that we used to be able to hunt this really nice farm beside my in-laws. And for years we hunted my in-laws, and I always had food, and the deer would never get there. They would never get there until dark. And I have pretty good bedding on it, but they would never get there until dark. We never could figure out why. Then we got permission to hunt this farm behind there, and about, probably a quarter mile or a half mile back there, there's this great big, wide open, south-facing hillside with these giant oak trees on it and a few small rose bushes scattered around in there. And we get back there and start hunting, and we would see deer at 1 o'clock, 2 hours before we would ever see them up on the other farm. And that's where all the deer were bedding late. And it just took them that long to travel from there to our food. even though we had good bedding, that was just the preferred spot. It was a sanctuary with the best, thermal cover, sunlight, wide open back there where they could stay warm. And late season, you just got to find those spots where they can bed like that and get to you soon enough before it gets dark.
Gotcha. So, again, you guys have had a bunch of success. Just watching you over the last, I would say the last 4 years that I can't remember any farther back than that. But but you guys have had just a tremendous amount of success, and you always seem to be, in the hunt, so to speak. What do you attribute that to? You just good at what you do, or is there a methodology that you guys employ that keeps you in the game?
Oh, you go first, Frank.
Oh man, I don't know. Just good inventory, knowing where you're at. I mean, that's kind of how everybody runs trail cameras, like I said before. And if you said it, you can't kill a big buck unless there is a big buck there. You know what I mean? And that's the way we kind of work. I hunt my grandpa's farm that I took my cousin in on the last day of season this year. I had a deer that it was just showing up late, and he was there 3 or 4 days in a row. I took her in the last night, and she killed him last night. But I just knew that deer was there. Cameras told me he was there. It's kind of you just got to keep inventory and don't overhunt a place, because overhunting a place is just going to push them somewhere else.
Right.
On the neighbor, and I think that's kind of a thing that we have going for us too, is we don't hunt a place that when it's wrong. You know what I mean? We try to let it. You don't want to blow the deer out. You don't want to let them know that you're hunting them. You kind of just got to hunt when you can, and if that means not going, then don't go. I mean, I'm not. I know some people don't have got jobs just like we do, but I mean, you can't kill a deer if he's not there. So if you blow him out, then he's not going to be there.
Right. Clinton, what's your take?
I would say first thing, hard work. Like what Frank had his best year, but this is also probably the year that he's put the hardest work into it. With that new farm, he put a ton of work into it, figured stuff out, spent a lot of time over there. That's the key. We work really hard at it, first of all. Second of all, we just evolved over time and we just know what we're good at in the way that we hunt, and we're comfortable with it. We don't try to do things outside our comfort zone, and we know we keep good track of our deer. And the other, like Frank said, we don't overhunt anything, but the other key is we have smaller farms than are in one spot. So we can bounce around a little bit. So it gives us a different supply of bucks, right? So instead of just hunting in my house where we might only have 2 deer that we want to shoot on 300 acres, sometimes you're better off having 3 different 40-acre patches, that are spread out 4 miles apart where you've got different deer in each spot. And if you stay out of there and hunt it, let it rest and only hunt it when it's good, it gives you an opportunity to have different targets and not always be getting into your deer hunt. But, we're kind of early season scrape hunters. We're not very good rut hunters. We don't do a very good job rut hunting. We're better early season and late season. If you go back and look at all the deer we've shot over the years, most of them come between, before the 7th of November and then after, just after Christmas.
Wouldn't you say, though, that being a good rut hunter, taking into account the dates that you would call good rut hunting days, sometime after the 7th through the 15th, 20th, whatever the case may be, wouldn't you say that's a tough job no matter where you're at? Is it not? I mean, you got to be in the right place at the right time. I mean, all the cards have to be in your favor. I watched I watched that this year. I mean, I was filming a gal, the 30th of October through I think the 7th of November, and I just watched my trail cameras just fill up with bucks, and she killed on the second day, and then wanted to shoot a doe, and so we just kept at it, and the closer we got to the 7th, the harder it was to even see a doe. And we talked about that a little bit. She's primarily a Western hunter, and had never whitetail hunted before. But we kept at it. And then, she went home and I got my chance to get out there, and it was demoralizing. So I think I think your luck isn't that much unlike a lot of folks'. It's just, that's a tough time to hunt. Wouldn't you guys agree with that?
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's just
for sure. In our style just doesn't jive with it, because we don't go in deep and disturb a bunch of stuff, right? Like our best friend Josh has killed a lot of big deer. More big deer than Frank and I have killed. But that's how he hunts. Like, he dives in deep and he sits all day. And Frank and I can't do that. We don't, we usually have too much stuff going on, so we can't sit all day for one. Josh is religious at it. He goes in there and just camps out, and that's what he's doing. We're usually trying to get in a quick hunt after work or a quick hunt before work, so we're hunting on the outside where we got good access to get in and out of, so we're not messing it up, but we're also still have ourselves in the ballpark. And the rut hunting thing, I feel like you just got to get deep on the downside of the bedding areas to camp out and hope you can catch one breaking loose and cruising through there. We're just not really set up that way, honestly.
Yeah, it's like playing the lottery. I mean, it really is, in many ways.
And I like to know what's going on, and so when you're rut hunting, honestly, that deer Frankie killed this year is the first time. That great big deer he killed first is the first time we went in hunting and shot a deer that was a surprise. I mean, we knew that deer, Frank knew that deer was there, but we weren't actually hunting that deer. But that's the first time for quite a while we went and shot one that we weren't actually hunting.
Right.
Yeah, I had two pictures of that deer 2 weeks before I killed it.
2 pictures, 2 weeks. Other than that, you hadn't gotten them all summer, that kind of thing?
Nope, nothing. No pictures of that deer at all.
So
the neighbor gave me a shed, and he was 1.25 miles from the year before from where I killed him.
Good gracious, that's a long ways.
And they had summer pictures of him this year, and that's where he lives. But he was 1.25 miles from where I killed him.
Well, that goes back to your rut hunting comment, right? Because, that was, I think, what did you say, Frank, the 17th? I don't remember what day it was.
It was like the 17th, yeah.
It was later. And, that just goes back to that thing. That deer was just out looking. He was ran down, skin and bones. There was nothing left of him. And we were just, he was there. And he could have been there a lot more than we know, too. I mean, we just had one camera on that 40 acres, but,
Right.
Well, them things.
Todd loved that time of year, and I just never could wrap my head around that. When I went down there to hunt with him, in 2018, he's like, you should come around the 10th, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to throw up thinking about hunting the 10th through the 17th, but that was his time, but he had that farm figured out, to the point that he knew when one did break loose where it was headed, and he just was good at putting himself in those positions, and he killed a lot of nice deer that way.
Right, and he hunted a lot like, or I guess he hunted a lot like our buddy Josh does. Todd liked to get in there deep.
Yes,
that was where he hunted. He wanted to get in deep, be on the in a pinch point or down inside the bed area. The whole food plot thing with Todd, that was a late blooming thing in life with him trying to hunt that way. He was a thicket hunter.
Right. Very much so. I agree. But he did gravitate towards those food. Like the last deer that he killed it was a big 10-pointer, and he killed it like, I think I had left for 2 days and mysteriously killed that deer. And I'm just kidding. But he was sitting right on the food plot. He talked about it 100 times, where he was going to be. But then you mentioned thickets and where he killed Walter Payton was just.
Oh yeah.
If you guys saw that area, we'd all look at it and go, well, duh. This is sure if you can get in there and undetected and all that stuff. He wasn't that terrible far off the edge of the timber, but still it was in the thick stuff and that was that was in his wheelhouse. It was one of the things that he loved to do. But he also like you said later in his career, really gravitated towards those food plots.
Right.
Well, hey, we're going to take just a quick break and hear a word from our sponsors. Before I do that, I just want to prepare you guys for the next question. I'd like to hear over the last however many years, whatever you want to pick from, what your favorite hunt is. Okay? We'll be right back.
Unless you've worked with our land experts, you don't know what to expect. And until you've shared this with us, you won't know what you're missing. We are hunters and land professionals alike. We are United Country, serving you on your quest for hunting or recreational property. Bottom line, we work for you. UC Hunting Properties. Stand on your investment.
All right. So, who wants to go first? Favorite hunt ever?
That we've been filming together.
Yep.
I've got two, but they're probably both going to be the same, possibly. I'll just go with one. My favorite hunt ever. I'll go with my own. My favorite hunt ever was the second year we were on Boeing.com when we killed that giant 8-pointer that we called Snowbird, and it was my favorite hunt because we put in a lot of time. We worked really hard, and that was the first year that we had I built a food plot specifically in this one spot for a certain thing to happen and to kind of pattern where the deer come from. And we had known in the past that end of the farm, the does always come into the heat first, which we already talked about that tonight, but we knew that was how it worked up there. And we'd had this other stand we'd hunt in the bottom. We'd always see these deer go up this cedar ridge and up towards this grass. And Frank and I talked, well, if we just got that cleared out up there and got some food up there, maybe it would work out. And I worked really hard at getting all that stuff in there and done. And it was late October, but like around the 20th, 21st, something like that. And I got a picture of this deer on the scrape. We knew he was in there. He was close to daylight the night before. And we thought, man, we got to go in there and try it. And we went in there the next day, and I felt like I was Mark Drury sitting in the middle of the highway. Frank's like, dude, here he comes. And it was just this giant 8-pointer. And he walked up through the grass and around through these cedar trees like we were in Iowa, and walked in there, and I shot him in the typical Clinton fashion right through the liver at 7 steps. And I was so stunned. I can remember Frank saying, dude, shoot him. Like I had stopped him. Or no, I hadn't even stopped him. Frank's like, dude, stop him. And I mean, he's right underneath of it. And I stopped him and I shot him right through the liver. And we found him the next morning. But that was my favorite hunt from back then, just because that was kind of like the light switch hunt where it was like, wow, we really can do this. We kind of, we didn't make it happen, right? I mean, you never make it happen, but we had did some things that improved our odds there that helped it happen. And then it was kind of like, wow, I can manipulate a little bit of how this is going to play out.
It's fun when it all comes together, and it all comes together in a fashion that you felt like you constructed it that way.
Right. Anything you work harder at always means more, right?
Right. Exactly. Yes, exactly. That's well said. Go ahead, Frank. What's yours?
My favorite hunt would be the deer I rattled in from like 600 yards away. So just to watch a whitetail, you rattle at him, he turns, he looks, and you can just see his demeanor change, and to watch him come all the way across that wide open field on a run, and come in and work a scrape at like 18 yards, and just like it was like it was on the script, like it was like everything was just it worked out like exactly like it was supposed to, it blew my mind. It was like a dream. I was just waiting to wake up from it, and just the nerves, to watch a 150-inch deer come right to your base of your tree and you got lucky enough to get he turns on a scrape and you shoot him and he runs over and he just falls over dead right there in front of you.
It does.
One of them days.
I forgot about that. I forgot about that one. That one was very exciting because we watched him come for so far. Frank couldn't even see him. We had that old Sony AX2000. I had the super zoom button pushed, and I was like, "That's a pretty good deer way over there." And Frank would rattle, and I was watching the camera, and he couldn't hear us. And I said, "Rattle louder." And if you ever watch Frank rattle on video, there's shit flying and it's smelling and there's blood, and everything else is going on. And he's banging these giant 170-inch set of sheds he takes the tree together, and I'm like, holy crap, he's coming. And that sucker comes right to the base of the tree. Right to the base. And not to mention, we'd almost killed that deer out of the same tree a year prior to that and didn't realize it was the same deer until after Frankie killed it.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Frank put the Mohican sneak on him and got down, took his shoes off, and I filmed him out of the tree trying to stalk up on him and kill him with a doe.
Oh, man.
I'll tell you another one that I really liked, Frank, was when we shot that. That deer this year was great because it was a giant. He had me pretty shook up when Frank killed that one this year. It was just a giant, absolute giant deer. And it was on the ground and we're eye level with him, and it was pretty intense. I was probably more shook up over that deer Frank shot this year than any deer I've ever shot or that I filmed him shoot. But the other one I liked was when you shot that one horn deer down in the bottom on cock season. We'd been there 10 minutes and he bedded down, and it was right when you could start sending pictures on your phone. And Frank took a picture of it off the camera and sent it to our buddy. And he sent us a trail picture back. He's like, "Yeah, if this was him, shoot him." And then we ended up killing him.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It was one of them times that you're in a slump, You've been hunting hard and you're not seeing anything, and just got lucky. My buddy's like, just go hunt my tree stand, because we're down, and we get in there, and then this deer just comes in and lays down. Like, we were in there 5 minutes, and then gets up and walks over to me, and I shot it. It's like, wow, the way everything can turn around and just snap your fingers.
Yeah, it definitely can. It definitely can get real exciting in a hurry and real boring in a hurry too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, your whole season's made in 3 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
You just got to fight through the battle of staying persistent and waiting on it,
I wonder what the average hours per work or minutes per work for a deer would be.
Oh.
It's just like, on the farm that I hunt, it's a big farm. It's probably 2.5 miles long. It hunts really big. It's taken me 2 years to get to the point where I even, think I know what's going on. And it's just the hours and hours of work. I've got a place down there now, which is great because I can run my business from pretty much anywhere. And, if I need to sneak out there, like this last summer in August, I snuck out there a lot at night and just watched and was able to learn a lot.
Right.
But just got countless hours. there's a couple things that go ahead.
I was going to say, I can go inside and ask my wife real quick how many minutes she thinks is in me shooting one.
No, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, it's not good.
Right. Yeah, I can tell you what kind of answer you're going to get. It's probably going to 2 words, too many.
Right.
Exactly. You guys, I think it was Clinton, you had mentioned, food at different times, in, what to plant, where to plant it. Is there anything that you guys have found as a good recipe? And I know oftentimes it relates to late season, but if you could kind of think of early season too, and give me both, what would your pick be for an early season food plot and why, and then late season food plot and why? And one of you can take one and the other can take the other. You guys can fight about who does what.
I'll start with the early season. Frank can be late season. The best thing I ever had that I don't have time to do anymore because I'm too busy and it's too time dependent is when we used to take our early season spots and split them in half with radishes on one side and oats and rye on the other side. And then every year flip-flop them.
Okay.
And I got that an idea off of, I believe it was off the Iowa Whitetail Forum. There's a guy on there, I believe he passed away. It was Doubletree or something like that was the guy that it talked about that a lot. And the thing was is you'd plant the radishes on one side, oats and rye on the other, and then you would let it grow even through the next spring. And then you would go back in late in the summer and mow the oats and rye down. And then you could plant your radishes right back into the tops of the oats and rye, and they would grow in the fats that was there. And then you would put your oats and rye back where the radishes were, which, you would spray in the summer and keep the weeds down. But that just provided us a lot of really good variety early season because the radishes at home are just stupid most of the time, but sometimes they really like the oats and rye too, which also later in the year, they'll get on them real heavy at times too.
Okay.
All right. Late season. Everybody knows, beans and corn. But I don't plant any turnips. I tried to plant them, and I've not had any luck with deer eating them. Like, plant radishes, they eat them like crazy, and then I don't have any luck with deer eating turnips. So I got away from that. So I do a lot of radishes, and a lot of times I'll go, and like, if you have standing beans and they're kind of thin, if you've been eating them all summer, go and broadcast them, into it. A lot of times, if the farmer gets the beans out early enough, it just doesn't get colder, now you can go and just put it out, just spread. I mean, this year on my farm, like this farm, I went and put in radishes over like a 5 or 6 acres of them, just broadcast them on top. It was just grass. The farmer took like preventive planting on a bottom field, and I just went through with a seeder and got a rain, and it was just like something out of a magazine. So I think radishes for somebody that doesn't have a lot of equipment or have the money to buy back crops off the farmer, or I think radishes are good late season.
Definitely. I've had a lot of folks tell me that. I haven't had a ton of luck, just because Wisconsin, I don't know, hunting here in the later part of the season is tough. Certainly can be done, but it seems like there's so much corn and beans. I don't know that I could plant enough, that late season kind of food to make that much of a difference.
Yeah, I've actually seen deer go through standing beans in the winter to go with radishes. And
really?
Eat radishes. Yeah, but they always come back to the beans, but they always go there and they eat first in the radishes and then come and eat beans afterwards. So I don't know if they were, what about them or what was called, what they were getting nutrition-wise out of them that they weren't getting some beans. But yeah, they especially that Clint's house is when that was.
Yeah.
It was a game changer. I mean, just to put them in with, every cone of a bean field is, along the timber, it's thin. And, radish seeds it's not expensive. Truthfully, it's not really that expensive. You can go and put a half acre in, and it doesn't really cost you that much.
No,
I think
right.
they go through them to get I think they go to get the moisture out of them. I think that's why they go to them first. I think there's water in them still in the leaves, and I think that's why they always go to them.
Okay.
Start off the bat in the winter.
Frankie, did you say that you broadcast radishes into beans?
Yeah, I'll take anytime there's a thin spot, or a lot of farmers will either sometimes they get a wet spot in the summer and they don't have it just didn't grow.
Right.
You can take the radishes and you don't have to go in and harrow it in, or it just takes a good rain right before rain, go broadcast them. And I've seen it like this year. As I said, I planted 5 acres, and we had a rain, and then it warmed up, and then we had another rain, and we hit it right, and they got knee high. I mean, they were giant radishes. It was crazy how good it just turned out. I just broadcast them. That was it. A little fertilizer and broadcast them. That was all I did.
Really?
Yeah, they'll grow on a gravel road. They'll sprout in the bed of your truck if they get wet. They will. They will. They'll grow anywhere.
I agree. They're relatively, in my opinion, they're relatively simple to plant. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Oh, by far, yeah.
Like they're
timing. The timing's a lot of it too. Frank's always been a lot better at it than me, because I get my ADHD kicks in, and I get anxiety, and I got to hurry up and go plant everything to get it done. A lot of times my stuff gets in too early, and I used to plant my radishes in clear being in August, and then Frankie's always messing around and procrastinating and not getting to it, and then it's the end of August, and then next thing we know, I'm like, dude, you got your radishes in too late, thing, and we're the crap. Then deer season comes, and mine are starting to dry out. And they're hammering Franks because they're still lush and growing, and that's the same way with the oats and the rye.
Yeah, I don't plant oats. I don't plant oats before September 15th.
You don't,
right?
Well, no, you guys are quite a bit farther south, I fail to remember that, but I do remember the folks in Missouri this year saying something similar to that. They don't do a whole lot of that stuff until the 15th.
Once oats get over 6 inches tall, they start getting real skinny, and the deer they'll go off of them. So I don't plant them until like the 15th of September, and then usually they're about 2 or 3 inches tall by the 1st of October, and then then that's when the beans have really changed in, and then the deer just start piling to the oats. It seems like that. The 15th has been that's my go-to on playing oats.
Right. Yeah, we're straight across from like the Iowa-Missouri border. That's the elevation that we're at.
Okay.
Straight across from there. But we even with when the farmers pick the beans, right? Like a lot of times the farmers are picking beans middle of September, and a lot of guys overlook it. And I've seen Frank do it, so I start doing it. You can go in there with your rye or rye and oat mix and spread it, the first week of deer season. Mm-hmm. And if it's warm for 2 weeks and you get some rain, then the rut hits. You got these nice 3-inch tall oats and rye coming on, and the does are just pounding it. Sometimes you don't get the rain, and it just doesn't do anything. But when it's good, man, a lot of people overlook that. You can go in after your farmer's done harvesting, as long as it's okay with them, and plant your oats and rye and kill it in the spring.
Good idea. It seems like those shorter plants, they're just a whole lot more palatable to the deer, and they seem to get attracted to those a whole lot more than like what you said earlier, Clinton. Planting them too early. I've been guilty of that myself. And they're either dried out or the deer have just pounded the living daylights out of them to the point that there's just not a lot left there. Well, I've taken just about an hour of you guys' time. I'd like to get one more question, and we could probably talk all night. But we've all got stuff we probably need to do. But I wanted to ask each of you favorite time to hunt and favorite tactic during that time. Frank, you can go first.
Favorite time to hunt, I would say the end of October, and favorite tactic would be rattling.
Really?
Being aggressive with horns. I love rattling.
Okay. Wasn't expecting that.
I knew that's what the answer was going to be.
Well, if you saw one stiff leg across the field, I can understand where that would happen.
I don't know how many deer we have rattled in and shot over the years, but it's been several. I don't know if we could say 10. I'm pretty sure we could say 10 at least. I mean, that's kind of one of the things that it probably surprised me what the actual number is if we went back and watched the whole video and saw it. But I like to hunt. I've got two times. If I can get them early season on a scrape the first week, I really like that. And we've only done it a couple times, but I really enjoy that. And then I love hunting late season where we're just seeing a lot of deer. It's a little bit more relaxed after we've been killing it, working really hard all through season, and now it's down to late season where, I don't necessarily like hunting out of box blinds because I don't like it when I can't see.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it when I can Frank and I can just sit there and shoot the crap and hang out, and then know that if the conditions are right, we're always in the ball game. Like we're always going to see a lot of deer, and the chances are high that if we play our cards right, we're going to get one shot. So that's probably my favorite because it's just more relaxing to me.
Makes sense. Okay. Yep. Anything else either of you want to add? I've got 100 more questions that I could ask, but I just
No, I mean, you just got to go. I mean, like people always say, well, when's your favorite time? Well, I mean, if you only have one day a week to hunt, you better hunt one day a week. That's just the way it works. I mean, we try. I've never. This year was my first year ever having a paid vacation. So I've been sick a lot before, but paid vacation is the first time I've ever did that. I mean, I just take advantage and enjoy yourself. That's kind of what I've as long as you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself, man, then that's where it should be.
Right on.
Yep. Good things will happen when you just chill out and let it. I've been the victim of not letting stuff happen and always trying to force it. And not force it by getting too aggressive, but just going too much. And Frank's always been the one, well, we might die tomorrow, so we're just going to live life and enjoy it. And a lot of times I get jealous because I have a harder time living that way than he does. But when you just sit back and chill out, a lot of times it works out. This year was a good example. I'd hunted all year. We hadn't got to hunt a lot. It was kind of frustrating. The pictures were down. Our deer was kind of down. We knew Frank was on some deer. We killed that big deer Frank, which was just awesome. And then we just weren't on anything, right? And it just wasn't right. And we just kept going, and we just never got frustrated. Just kept working at it. And then late season, we killed 3 deer, and we killed 3 and 3. Well, I killed one, and then 2 weeks later, Frank killed one, and I killed one the next night, and then Frank took his cousin and killed one the next night. So Frank was on 3 150-inch deer in 3 days, and I killed one 2 weeks earlier, and it was, it'd been a long season, but it was a lot of fun just relaxing and letting it happen.
Right. Sometimes it's easier said than done to just enjoy the process, but truly that's that's the key to really enjoying the whole season, is just to enjoy the whole ride, the ups and the downs and everything. It's just like I said, it's easier said than done. But well, hey, thanks so much for taking the time out and coming on the show. Really enjoyed watching you guys, even though you did leave White Knuckle. It's been fun watching you guys over the last few years. It seems like you guys are always pulling something out of your hat at the end of a year. At least the last couple of years, right?
Oh yeah, we always save one for the last week.
Yeah, you do.
Yep.
Was
it on a high note?
That was after the ATA show, wasn't it, Clinton?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yep.
that's what I thought.
I killed one right before the ATA, and then we come home and had a good last 3 days.
Good for you. Well, hey, it was a pleasure, and like I said, I appreciate it, and I'll put the links to your shows in the bio for this show, and if folks want to check out what you guys are up to on bowhunting.com or bowhunter or die, there'll be links in our show for that. Any final words?
Well, thank you for the opportunity, man.
Yeah, you bet. Well, thank you guys. Have a great night.
Yep. Thank you.
You bet. Take care. Well, there you have it, another episode of the White Knuckle Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show and hope you picked up a few nuggets of information along the way that you can use down the road. I want to take just a second and thank our partner in this endeavor, and that is UC Hunting Properties. Without them, this couldn't be possible. You guys all know that I work with UC Hunting Properties, and they're actually nationwide. I would encourage you, for any of your property needs, go to www.uchuntingproperties.com. Thanks for listening. Jason out. Well, there you have it.